Sander, can you hear me?
Yes, I do.
I guess we're live now.
Let's get this party started.
Hello, everybody from Humanode community and Catacomb Crawlers community. My name is Dato, and I'm with Sander here today to discuss the creative side of Catacomb Crawlers. For those of you who don't know, Catacomb Crawlers is our great friend and a partner, and we're going to do a lot of very interesting things together in terms of Sybil-resistance for gaming. But today, because we I think discussed this a lot previous time, Florian was here together with Alex, another member of Catacomb Crawlers team. Today, we wanted to highlight a different side of Catacomb Crawlers, and it's their creative side. That's why Xander, as I think the major creative director, right, behind Catacomb Crawlers. Am I right?
Yeah.
Is going to tell us the creative approach. We're going to talk about how new ideas come to, I guess, Catacomb Crawlers team, right? And basically how they approach the way they generate new ideas for the game. And Cassandra, I think we'll have a very fruitful conversation today. Well, you're going to be able to shed more light on what's happening, inside Catacomb Crawlers, basically.
All right.
So, thank you for being with us here today, for your time. And, for the very beginning, maybe you briefly, in one sentence, tell about yourself and how you became the creative person behind Catacomb Crawlers.
Right. Dato, thanks for having me. It is my pleasure and my honor. First of all, I'm CJ Zander. I am the art director and at the same time the game designer for Catacomb Crawler. I do some art for the game myself because if you want a game to come out good, you have to work with your team. Like hand out tasks and see what it comes out. So I imply myself in a lot of section. It's art balance or design. What was your question previously?
I guess you answered half of my question here, but I have other questions that I wanted to ask you today. So maybe the next question is kind of a continuation of my previous question. So maybe let's get to that, shall we? So,
Sure.
I will start today probably with the very default question, but I will formulate it in a more creative way. So, what was the original spark behind Catacomb Crawlers? The creative spark that led to it. Was it like a specific moment or an idea that was brewing for quite some time?
Well, we as a team go back far in time. We've known each other for 15 years already. It's 2025. As for the game, it was not like a sudden spark. It was something we always wanted to do. We always wanted to do a game of our own because we played a lot of games together, and we were like, hey, we've played so many games. What if we can make our own game? How to put it? We liked the roguelike genre a lot, and we wanted to put our own twist into this genre.
What roguelike games did you play to kind of lead you into this?
Quite a lot. One of my favorite was Dead Cells. Then Windblown came out. Then I went into Hades. As for mobile, I always liked Archer. Vampire Survivors, that kind of games. Simple, fun.
It's like for those of you who don't know what a roguelite is, it's a type of game. How would I define it? Where you have a session in which you have a certain goal to accomplish, and then you have a global process kind of going on the background with each game that you play, I guess. Am I defining roguelike right now? Probably. I think it's like you play
From my
small
point of
sessions.
view,
Yeah, how would you define
sorry,
roguelike?
roguelike is more like a game where you make decisions. Based on your decisions, there's an outcome. If you fail, you start again from square zero. You don't keep any progression. You just start again and try to take a different path to succeed. That's basically what roguelike is. Of
Yeah, that's
course,
true.
the roguelikes we have nowadays are a bit more bland. I mean, you're allowed to do mistakes. You keep some of the progress. So is our game. So we don't really want to punish the players for every mistake they made.
Uh, that's why they call it a roguelite. Like not.
Roguelite, yeah,
Yeah. Well,
basically.
you keep at least some progress. Okay,
Yeah.
so it was an idea that you guys had brewing inside you because you have played a lot of games together and you have also created games together, right? As I understand, but not for your
Yeah.
own like studio, but for somebody.
Not for ourselves, for yeah, exactly.
Okay,
Like we could have went for RPG or a MOBA, but that's a different ballpark in terms of budget, in terms of competition. Like I cannot go against League of Legends. That's a huge game. Like I don't think anyone would ever surpass, at least for
it's
that genre.
it would require a significant, well, I don't know
Yeah.
even what, like significant resource to overturn. Okay, cool. Seems real like a long brewed approach to creating games. That's one way to approach things. And now I wanted to talk more specifically about the design of Catacomb Crawlers. Like you had a certain approach to like designing the world and characters. So like what emotions or atmosphere you put into that? Like how did you get there?
Um. Well, the world as you see it right now into our game was an organic process. It was something that came out of something else. We thought about multiple nature elements, and we came up with different themes for the maps and for the atmosphere. Like our game initially was supposed to be procedurally generated. Like each map would generate on its own. There would be no intervention from our side as for what goes where. But we've tried that approach at the beginning, and I wasn't really happy about it. So I said to myself, "Hey, we can add like handcrafted touch. Like that's gonna feel more. We will feel more accomplished if we did something by our hands each time we wanted a new level, rather than having an algorithm creating everything for us in the background."
Yeah, well,
Yeah, basically it felt less immersive, and it felt a bit restricted. Came down to aesthetics.
like you were talking specifically about different levels, right? And the
Yeah.
aesthetics with the certain characters. But the question is more globally, what do you think affected the visual art style the most? What do you think?
So basically, why we chose the game to look the way it does.
Yes, more or less.
Well, it's a reflection of our own gaming journeys. It's like we took bits and pieces from every other game we known and we loved, and
Well,
that's how Catacomb Crawlers came out. Like we've combined everything that we loved in one single game, because we've played a lot of games. So there's inspiration from many titles.
usually, when I was talking about this with Florin and Alex, they would always cite that they were like the game and the studio was aiming for an art style reminiscent of Diablo 4 or Diablo Immortal, I think. Diablo Immortal and League of Legends Mobile, right?
Yeah, there are some parts of the game inspired from MMORPGs when it comes down to a couple of characters. So our archer Atrida, she's kind of inspired from Cabal, one of our most favorite MMORPGs in terms of clothing, and the art style. It's really typical to South Korea. We really like that kind of art style.
I mean, I can also see a lot of like influences as well, and I personally really dig that like art style. I like it, and I'm pretty amazed that like very early studio can deliver graphics like that, and you guys do it, and like Riot Games and Blizzard does it. So um,
Well, that's how Riot and Blizzard also started. Like it all comes down to iterations. Like never stop at one point. Like you need to do more iterations and improve it.
and as we're talking about iterations, you actually led us to my next question today, and like, what are your like processes, all right, for designing characters, enemies, bosses, various abilities? Do you have like a certain creative approach to that, or are you just do as you feel? Somebody would say.
Oh, that's never simple. The process is usually driven by ideas, like most of things, which later turn into concept art. And from that point, each iteration, we determine the behavior and the mechanics of that NPC or the character, of course. Like it goes the same way for the playable characters. Uh, so usually it's from ideas, but there are some times when we have the mechanics in mind, and then we try to turn the mechanics into something visual. So there's no rule set in stones for us how we develop all these enemies and bosses. It's coming all natural. Usually when we gather in calls.
All right. Mm, can you tell me more about the team so I have like a more precise understanding? How many people are involved in like design creation, uh, brainstorm, and then like concrete like art and modeling? All this people. How many people are there?
When it comes down to modeling, depends, because we have different modelers for different types of models we need. For example, there are two character artists. One is taking care of the champions, one is taking care of the bosses. And then we have Luka, which is not here, unfortunately. He's the environmental artist. But when it comes down to some of the assets in the game, it's not a fixed amount of people that do that specific task. Like even I myself go into VFX or 2D animation, UI elements, and help in there as well.
That's quite a team you got there. And you've been working together for how long now?
For this game itself, I completely lost track of time. I don't even remember when you started, but it is like 3 to 4 years ago. But as a team doing games for other people, it's basically been about 10 years, something like that.
So it's like a decade of experience of working together as well
Yeah.
and coordinating processes of creativity with each other.
Yeah, 15 years of playing together and 10 developing together. Quite a journey.
Nice. Nice. You guys must be good friends.
Yeah, we really are.
Cool. Cool. It's great. It's great. You know, as I like experience tells me, behind a lot of great like legendary games, there's just a group of friends that play together and they say, let's make our own game. So yeah, yeah, it's cool. It's very awesome. You know, feels
Yeah,
more
it's
true
awesome.
compared to like some commercial stuff that happens artificially, where you get up, you create a project and you get up people because you know they're good and they don't know each other. So yeah, it's has a different feeling to it.
Well, that
Okay,
could work too.
that could work too. Yes, of course, but
It
it's
could.
just different. You know,
Yeah.
it could definitely, of course. If Okay, if you had like an unlimited time and budget, you know, um, uh, what would you more like artistic or audio style, that you think you have like mm, limitations set by the resources right now? Would you enact for Catacomb Crawlers specifically? Like, I hope my question is clear. Like, if you had unlimited resources, what would a Catacomb Crawlers sound and look like and feel like in your imagination?
Oh, you said unlimited time and resources. Where can I find
Yes.
that? Well,
Yeah,
like
unlimited,
that's
I
a
don't know,
two
but
yeah, that's a two-edged knife. Like on one edge you can go down a path where you like it's a kind of bottomless pit if you have unlimited funds and time. I know a game that had that and it's still not out after 15 years. They keep adding features. But as for our game, I guess we could have invested more time and money into visual, into mechanics, like bosses, make them more intimidating, rewards more satisfying, more dazzling, VFX and UI elements, that kind of stuff the community likes. We know for a fact that our community likes their phone to be lit up like a Christmas tree. They like they like it to be busy, like sparks, explosions, Michael Bay kind of stuff all over the screen. Like
yeah.
that's what I would do if I had unlimited resources for the game.
Okay, so will you heavily
But
invest and go with animations?
yeah,
All right.
not necessarily just animations because you cannot add animations without a good engine. So my guess would be what if we had our game engine, but that's, as you said, unlimited time and budget to make your game engine as well.
So if you had unlimited resources, you would ditch Unity for your own engine for sure.
Probably an engine that would cater to our own needs, because there are some areas in both available game engines like Unreal and Unity that don't do well for us.
I don't know how viable is going into technical details for our viewers, but can you name an example? Why do you think there's a limitation, for example, for you guys right now from the Unity side? For those of you who don't
Not
know,
just
guys,
Unity,
Unity.
both Unity and I'm talking about mobile specifically. Don't get
Yeah,
me
yeah.
wrong. Like these engines
I'm
are
just for the
absolutely
audience.
amazing for PC.
Yeah, sorry, Xander, just for the audiences who don't know, Unity and Unreal Engine are like gaming engines on which you can build games. So now I said that, Sorry,
Yeah.
please continue. So, yeah,
So
they
for
provide.
for mobile, Unity and Unreal are pretty good engines, but when it comes down to the amount of things you can display on your phone is getting pretty complicated. I don't really know if it's about the technology that's still too early for mobiles or if it will get better down the line. But ideally, if we had resources to do our own game engine to put as many things as we want on the screen without it catching fire or turning into a portable toaster, it would be great. But that's like just ideal thinking,
Well,
perhaps
your
wishful
game,
thinking.
guys, I know it's quite optimized, right? So I played
Yes, it is
plenty.
optimized, but that still doesn't mean we can display an unlimited amount of elements during gameplay. Like we have our own limitations we're trying to keep in mind. We try to save draw calls in a place so we could use them elsewhere. Like the latest example was with one of our cards, when you split the arrows attack, only the one in the middle would apply an additional VFX and an effect. And people kind of wanted that special effect to be on all the arrows spreading. And we were like, you cannot do that because technically only the one in the middle is activating something, and adding the VFX on all the arrows would decrease the phone's performance. So that's just an example.
Well, it makes sense that if you build a good gaming engine, right, you have much more
Yeah.
control over the memory loss, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, you could fit more enemies and more explosions, like
Maybe we
for
can
Michael.
find a genius like Tony that can put a million things on the screen and still run at 60 FPS.
Yes, that's true. So you know, I have probably one more question about the process that you guys have in development, but it's like a specific question about some form of event that happened in the past, maybe while you guys were developing for somebody else, or when you guys started developing for Emeroth, right? And it's what was probably the hardest creative decision you had to make personally in all that development that you guys had?
Oh, when we started the game, we wanted to have one of those cinematic feelings of the game, like lots of post processing, lots of cinematic grade effects, but that was just impossible. Not possible.
It was.
We had we had to rely on what phones can do and cannot. So no more cinematic, no more post processing, just what the phone can handle. And that was like really sad. I was like, oh, my VFX is.
Have you seen, like, you have probably, of course, seen Vampire Survivors and Survivor IO, right?
Yeah,
And how they look like. And of course,
yeah, really, really
our shape
simple graphics.
graphics
It's
were not the
effective.
defining factor, right?
Sorry, come again.
I say graphics were not a defining factor.
Not a defining factor. They're simplified for the exact same reason I was talking about. In a mobile environment, we are
Just design.
trying really hard as a team, as Catacomb Crawlers, to achieve like a visual marvel for what the phone can do. So we're trying as much as we can to focus on it optimization while also keeping pretty good visual standards. Like we could have taken that route of Survivor or Arch Hero, where we make the game simple. It's still enjoyable. I personally like both of those, but I didn't want it to sacrifice our visual identity just to go with a million things on the screen.
I personally can say that I've enjoyed the. I didn't really enjoy Vampire Survivors or Survivor IO. Uh, Maybe I don't know. Maybe because of the visuals, I didn't play them that much. Just tried a couple of times. But the first time I touched Catacomb Crawlers, the guys that you had bet out in June last
Oh,
year, I told
you should see the next updates.
no, I've played the new updates as well, but the first, the first impression, even on the version that you had, I mean, last June already, even that version was like, in my understanding, one head higher than Survivor IO in terms of the visuals, of course, and the amount of optimization. Well, in those games, you can have thousands of enemies on the screen, of course, but they don't turn into like one big mess, I would say, visual kind of mess. It's all about numbers, right? It's
Yeah,
not that you just don't feel those ability as you feel them when you cast something while playing Catacomb Crawlers, Well, of course, you know what I'm saying, but I want you to
yeah,
know that I'm feeling it as well.
yeah, totally.
Okay, so like you have to kind of say cinematic aesthetics, but in a Swarmer, I don't think they're like, are they that necessary? No, I don't think so. It's not like a story game, not yet at least.
Not
Is
yet.
there going to be a story?
We're planning on adding some lore.
Lore, but not a
Yeah,
story.
that's lore is for video games. That's the story. Lore.
Yeah,
That's the term for
kind
story.
of. Well, I mean, this difference, like maybe personally for me, where you have like a character that moves for the story, and lore is just like setting. Maybe it's just mixed up in my head, but you have like a setting right now, yes, but not like the story itself.
We're planning to work
Or
on that. Like first, we want
or
people
this.
to. Sorry.
Mhm. No, I'm just
Like we wanted people.
so the sorry. No, I'm
I think
just
there's a
asking.
slight delay between us.
There might be, yes.
Yeah.
So the visuals are disconnected from any lore, right? Or you have already something in mind.
Well, as a something that hasn't been made public yet. When I came with the game idea and for the characters, like each one of them has a different style when it comes down to how they look. Like one is wearing medieval outfit, the other one looks modern with a gun. So the initial idea of the game was heroes brought from other universes to save them all, that kind of stuff. But we got ourselves so deep into optimization and visuals that we literally had no time to develop the story anymore. So that's why we want to, after the release, to spend some more time on the story as well, because with a story we can open up more doors for different things, like uh, I don't know, merch, like a book, something like that.
Mhm.
Give them more personality so people could attach themselves on one character more than the other. Like I like him more because his story is joyful, it's sad, it's heroic, tragic, that kind of stuff. But
Well,
like it wasn't just the type of game that you would start with a story first and then develop the game. It's a type of game where you develop it and then you come with the story, because after this game probably could come with a franchise as well. So people likes a character a lot inside our game, hey, let's make another game with that character and give it a complex story.
yeah. So you guys are probably right in what you're doing in a sense that you're focusing on the gameplay, right? Not the
Yeah.
storytelling element, which is absolutely rational. Um, well, now talking about, like, you already started talking about the expanse on the franchise and stuff like this. So, what do you think is another medium of like entertainment, like an animated series or a comic book or like a board game or a movie, which you think Catacomb Crawlers could later on, evolve into or devolve into, transcend into?
Oh. I had something in mind that hasn't been done to death. Like only League of Legends did it, and it did it beautifully. It's untapped. Nobody else doing it. If you ever heard of terms of motion comics,
No.
so it's basically a comic book, but each of the like squares where the artwork is in is animated in a loop, or like could be a loop or an action.
Wow, that sounds.
Something people could look up on the internet, the story of Udir, like Spirit Udir. I don't remember his. It was the ultimate skin for Udir. It had a motion comic describing what I would have in mind
And they chose the
for
shaman
Catacomb
here for it.
Crawlers.
Okay, I remember
Yeah,
him. Yes,
something
but I
similar to
never
that.
used to play him though. So it sounds very, very, very beautiful. Yes, and I already can imagine how it would also look like for Catacomb Crawlers. Pretty beautiful as well. Um,
Yeah.
like a comic book with the looped elements sounds pretty unique. And if you could then collaborate with any other studio or a developer or renowned artist from the field, with whom do you think you would personally would like to collaborate? I'm talking about Emerald Studios.
That's a good question. If we had the resources, what do you have in mind? Like, what areas of collaboration? Like the art, the
Yeah,
music,
for example, music.
the story, maybe?
Which composer would you choose?
Music.
Yes, if you had like a big budget.
Oh, I cannot call him a composer, but
Hans Zimmer.
not really. What about Jorn Land? Heavy metal.
Oh,
He did the Pentakill albums for League of
okay.
Legends.
That's very precise.
Yeah, I would love that. Like our music is really metally kind of
The
stuff.
guys from
I think he would fit.
the animated series Deathlock.
The story, I would give you a lucky guess for the story.
I don't know, man.
No, I would literally bring back from the grave J.R.R. Tolkien
Okay.
to write the story for Catacomb Crawlers.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's like that budget would need to be very big, man. Yeah, but of course.
And people, I'll also collab with people we could learn stuff from would be definitely Motion Twin team, the guys who made Dead Cells and Windblown. I would like to sit at a table with them one day and discuss ideas.
What
and
about Peter
whatnot.
Molyneux?
Peter?
Molyneux, the guy behind Fable,
Oh,
guy
then
behind something.
you caught me off guard. I don't know him.
Okay, then what about Ice Frog?
Ice Frog from
Yes.
Dota. Yeah, he's the father of Dota. Why
Yeah,
not?
that's true. His new game is also very interesting.
Oh, he's making a new game?
Deadlock, it was called. Well, it's not his game, it's a game from Valve, but he participated in it heavily. Now, I'm almost running out of questions for today, and that's a good thing. But as one of the last questions I'm going to ask today is what piece of creative advice you wish you would have received 10 years ago, and what would that advice be changed in your basically mind to address modern artists, maybe? So that one advice,
So one advice I would have wanted 10 years ago and one advice I could give to the
Yes.
artists. 10 years ago, I wish someone would have told me that iteration is the key to mastery. Like, my first version of what I do doesn't have to be the last one, and it doesn't have to be perfect. Like, learn from it, keep refining. Creativity thrives on experimentation, not perfection. That's what I've learned. And something I would tell to the artists, it would be, when they're doing art, they should stop worrying about what's good and what's bad and focus genuinely on things that excites them. Like passion and curiosity are the best guides. Like all the rest
That's
comes down naturally.
powerful.
And the part with the iterations, like if I got a good advice, why not pass it on?
And you want to also tell them to be more organized, right? Because
Organized.
some creative
that
people are
that
creative,
helps not only with
organized.
art, it helps in real life as well.
Yes, Sander. So, as we're basically nearing the end of our stream today, I want to ask you.
Oh no!
Yes, I mean it's how it goes, man. But we can always chat separately from this stream. One pretty much last thing I wanted to ask you is what will you tell our community and those who came from the Catacomb Crawlers community today about some future plans for the releases, mostly? Maybe you can give them some peeks behind the veil of what is happening in Catacomb Crawlers, just so that they can use this stream to have some insider information. But then, of course,
Ooh, I need to bring out the cookie jar. Well, one exciting new about the game. So one thing we're planning to add to make the game more exciting and offer more freedom and creativity to the players would be adding a deck builder. Like no other game in roguelike allows you to do this. So right now we have a fixed amount of cards. I believe it's 31 cards or 32. Sorry for not knowing that exact number. Yeah, because there are some cards that are into the game, and there are some cards that are still in prototype. But basically, what we want to do is make a deck, pick a minimum amount of cards and a maximum amount of cards. It has to follow some rules. For example, you cannot pick 2 cards of the same type. But other than that, you can pick whatever you want for your run. So we would expand the card pitch by a lot. Like if now we have 30 plus, in future we're planning to have 60 or 90. And based on that, you will pick this card, this card, this card, this card, start the game, and upgrade what you think fits best for your champion. So you don't have the same thing over and over again.
So it's like every run should be different, right? Depending on the modifiers that you get from those cards.
Yeah.
Sounds like
yes.
a very cool system. I didn't play it, but I will. Okay, then, Sander, do you have anything else that you wanted to add without me questioning you?
Well, not really. If anyone else has any other questions next to the game, I would gladly answer to them. If not, like, I would just like everyone to be a part of the community, be patient. We're doing our best to bring out the best experience for roguelike games on mobile.
Thank you very much, Sander. A round of applause for the effort of your team. Guys, they are really working tirelessly. So you go and you play the game. If you're watching this, go Google with your little hands, Catacomb Crawlers, and download it, okay? The guys are working every day nonstop, and they're making a great game. So let's help them out. So, Sander, it was a pleasure, having you, and I hope you guys succeed in what you're doing. And me personally, our whole Humanode team, and I know a lot of people from Humanode community are there to support you and get everything good.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. I would gladly drop by anytime.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.